such a great opportunity to come together again and to just enter the breath of this circle. So let's take a moment to do that, breathing toward the one, feeling this circle as a one, and then expanding that one in all directions, merging with the one. And let's say the Sufi invocation together. Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
So I think your Adl is a good thing to do at this point. This is the wazifa that is the balance of the harmony, the one that balances the scale.
Yeah. After that walk, I can't find the chords.
Hey, congratulations.
Allah, 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 Ya Adl, Ya Adl. Changes the second time. Adl, Adl.
A-D-L, Adl.
Yes.
Adl.
Allah, 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 Ya Adl, Ya Adl. So the second time around, the Adl is a higher note, and it has this longing in it. So you could think of the second time being the lunar side, and the first time being the solar side, but meeting in this Adl. The first time through, we go to the right, which also would enforce that more solar side, and the second time through, we go to the left. So let's just sing it through. Allah, 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 Ya Adl, Ya Adl, Allah, 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 Ya Adl, Ya Adl. Okay, so it's a quite simple dance. We just have a very gentle zikr movement with the Allah, Allah, and then Ya Adl. When we're going to the right, we'll start Ya Adl, Ya Adl, and when we're going to the left, Ya Adl, Ya Adl. Allah, Allah,
Let's come up and have a seat.
I'd like us to take just a significant piece of time to do the daily meditation practice, or a version of it that most of us are doing. And so I'll just make a few comments throughout, not very many. We'll start with our breath awareness, bringing our breath into a balance, understanding that we've been active, and so the breath is going to want to slow down as we bring it into balance, because now we're sitting. Becoming aware, becoming one-pointed, allowing the breath to move in us in a refined, long, and balanced way. We become aware of the quality of life that it draws with its inner current from all of space. Whenever the mind wanders, bringing it back without judgment to the breath, relaxing into the breath, feeling the livingness as we do so. As we do in the purification prayer, asking that this all-pervading life and space that we're imbibing with each breath give us good health and purify our body and our heart and our soul. Breathing with the whole body, and in particular feeling the centered in the heart. We take the phrase Ishq Allah in rhythm with our inhalation and our exhalation, remembering God's love all pervading, breathing in this ocean. And as we continue to breathe in and out God's love, we unite in our feeling, in our heart's connection, in merging in our heart's feeling with our guides, our teachers, with one of the illuminated souls that comes up for you in your heart. One continues to do this in the great web of all connected life, breathing in this way, with this presence within and without. Taking this opportunity to feel gratitude for our life, our being, for the one and only being. Now hearing the sound of the breath as Hu, we enter the one heart of the one and only being. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We have gratitude, we have such thankfulness for that which holds everything in this infinite heart, all possible universes, all possible beings, in this infinite space of oneness, of emptiness, cherishing it all, holding it all in this loving embrace. Hu, 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 hu. Now we're going to begin to move down into awareness of this particular being which you are here, and do breathing in toward the one, breathing out, united with all the illuminated souls. Rather, breathing, see I'm too high, breathing in toward the one. Breathing out the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty. Feeling all those qualities emanating from that oneness. Breathing in, the only being. Breathing out, united with all the illuminated souls. Breathing in, who form the embodiment of the Master. Breathing out, the spirit of guidance. So, bringing the mind into those patterns will come down into the body, gradually open the eyes. Just continue to breathe in this way, taking the Sufi invocation phrase by phrase, beginning breathing in toward the one. Gradually open the eyes and look at the face of God around you, within and without. This seems like a good time to just, I wanted to, I was reflecting on this class and where we are now in our process, and I've asked you, and I hope some of you are ready to share something here today from your experience. Again, no particular expectation, but just as a way of seeing each other. And this is what came to me when I was reflecting on it, so I just think I'll read it because I like the way it came out. Beloved ones of God, it is with deep gratitude to God, the one and only being, and to all those awakened beings who have realized that perfection as the essence of their souls and who have brought forth the light of its guidance for the awakening of humanity, and particularly with gratitude to Hazrat Pir Murshid Inayat Khan and Pir Murshid Sufi Ahmed Murad Chishti and the caravan of illuminated souls that they embody and represent, that we come to the conclusion of this year of study and practice of the inner school of Sufism viewed through the lens of the breath. We're also grateful to have received this continuing guidance. And thank you all for the quickened interest and full-hearted gift of yourselves to the teachings we've received. We took a journey together, and now we may see that it is an ever-continuing journey. Finding God as the very breath within our breath, we make an enduring relationship with the beloved presence that we now better know how to find and to merge with in different ways. Many practices have been taken up in the course of our study. Some of these have now become established as fundamentals that we can always refer to for orientation and stability, and as a basis for continued exploration. Other practices have allowed us to taste blessings, and from some we may have gotten an aroma of mastery. Others we've barely touched, much yet realized. As long as we are breathing, we can continue to practice what we have learned in this year's work together. So that's where I started, and then I continued. When you'll get this letter with suggestions about how to continue with the practice schedule and so forth, just the things, suggestions for going forward. But I don't want to go into that now because I just wanted to, because being in this atmosphere of gratitude and coming to this place, I participated in lots of things. We have a lot of graduation events in the Saluk Academy, I like the diplomas is on the endless path, so so you're not able to. It's any moment of completion in that sense is always an illusion, and it goes on to the next. So it is with this passage together. But I very much appreciate it. And when I think of, with gratitude, I think of the people in Conca Sam who really participated so much to make this a reality. And, I know they're up there, Mandalib and Ollie Cotter and Zubeen, Mary Magdalena are up there making our lunch, and I know but just creating an atmosphere here, and it's so much a part of being in the Conca that to come out and to really serve in this way, because it makes us happy and it makes people happy to do that. So I thought we would take a quiet biological break if people need to do that, and we'll come back, and I think we will begin, and I'll ask some people, maybe do a practice, and then we'll ask people to start sharing some of the stuff. We're not going to do all that at one time because that can become but some people may be brief, some people may have a practice, some people may lead us in a direction. I want to leave that open to see what's going to happen. So let's take like a 10-minute pause here, and that'll give us an hour and 15 minutes before we break for lunch. Thank you. So the nice thing about taking a break at the end of a meditation is if you don't have to go anywhere, you can just sit there. We're going to move into receiving from everyone here again in a minute. But I thought we'd do a couple of these breath practices from Murshid Sam's writings here on the Surah's own breath. There's a difference between, in the breath of each kingdom, mineral, vegetable, animal, and human. So let's just take a moment and consider to place our breath in the condition of the mineral kingdom. And as Murshid says, feel the ether element as you attune your breath to the mineral kingdom. That stillness. The etheric element is predominant in the mineral kingdom at the beginning of the stream of life, and again rises to the surface in the perfected sage. So the ether is both the beginning and the end as you consider the progression of the breath through the different kingdoms. The breath of animals and the breath of vegetables are opposites. There's more of the fire energy in the animals of red blood. So let's try, and more of the water element in green plants. So let's consider the vegetable kingdom, and at the same time feel the presence of the water element as we let our breath be in tune with the vegetable kingdom. Okay. There's more of the fire energy in the animals of red blood. So let's consider all the animals of red-bloodedness. Feel the breath of the animal kingdom. Okay. Now for the human kingdom, we're going to find again more of find all of the elements, but you feel air and ether as the human condition gets more refined. Let's go through this process one more time, but just in a slightly different way. Let's go back to the mineral kingdom and breathe like the minerals breathe. You can see why Murshid equates it with the ether, because if you try to breathe the way the minerals breathe, your breath is going to be very subtle, very still. Almost imperceptible. Now let's breathe like the vegetables breathe, like the living plants breathe. Now let's breathe as the animals breathe. All the red-blooded animals, the goats and the cows and the tigers and the bears and the rabbits and you can certainly notice the breath growing stronger as you go through these kingdoms. And now let's breathe as a awakened human being might breathe. Amen. And what you feel when you do that, is you have a relationship with all of these kingdoms. You integrate. You have a place where your breath touches and can touch all of it, and as such, the ether moves from that kind of gray, inchoate, unformed, formless container out of which everything emerges into the fullness of the light of the rainbow, in which the spectrum is all now placed into a container of fullness. So let's just concentrate for a minute on the ether breath and feel that movement of the breath from utter stillness to fullness of all. Pepper container. I don't know what it is. Anybody claim this? No.
It should be, I think it goes on top of this instrument.
Flute, that's it.
Oh.
Saxophone.
Yeah, saxophone.
Maybe.
It's a saxophone.
Protector for the saxophone.
Oh.
Reed protector.
Okay. Well, I'm going to. I just want to say, how beautiful it is to see each person's process and what people go through. I mean, just to be here and to be in the light of our seeing is beautiful, and this, everyone here is loved, accepted, and it's a nice feeling to know that in spite of all of your quirks or flaws or whatever, that there's a place in which, you're accepted and you're seen and you're appreciated and at least tolerated. Tolerance and then appreciation. The more you get to know somebody, the more you know everything about them, and then you develop that ability to see and love them anyway. Or because of all the things that you see. Anyway, that's my experience, and I know sometimes it didn't feel at all long this morning when people were talking or doing things, but I may take the opportunity, if it does get a little long when we go into this next section, I'll break it up with a little practice here. And this rug, it always blows my, because this rug used to be on the floor of my parents' house in Mississippi. When my father had already died, but my mother died, and we were there to help her move out, and my daughter Amina said, I didn't want to take anything, I, being the kind of person I am, I thought, my sister is good with things. Okay, let her have the things, But Amina said, okay, my daughter said she wanted to bring this rug over. So then it landed here in the Conca. And then, so every time I come in and say, oh yeah, okay. And Fadhilla's finding her play. You know, we have pieces of us are everywhere. You know, that's the thing. We make relationships, and it's all kind of a seeding process that's going on. And I'm very thrilled to hear these stories. You know, just it's a way of kind of coming to a kind of a closure about this process. Though the process is ongoing, this particular vehicle of it is ending, and you know, it's good to see just the different ways people take what they receive. You know, it's unique in each one of us to do, and so to anyone that may be watching this in, you know, Maryland or, you know, Peru or wherever it may go, who knows where this will go, all this, because there are people, you know, and that, you know, I hope you can feel some of this sense of intimacy and bonding and the way in which a caravan moves together, you know, and, you know, because we live in a world where, you know, we need to develop these connections that are long-distance connections at the same time as being able to touch and feel and move together in the dance to feel that we can touch each other beyond these boundaries. It was Hazrat Inayat Khan that says God is all possible, and human beings define limitation. You know, and that's but our nature is godly. Our nature is nothing but that. So the limitation is what we've learned, and so it's really a process of unlearning for us to enter our real nature. And sometimes it feels like dying, and it is, and it feels like being reborn, and it is, but and yet it's just the one and only being. As Murshid says, I am that I am, the eternal movement of the one and only being. You know, that breath that is moving through all of existence. And the reality that transcends time, that is the container that has no beginning and end. So here we are discovering our place in it and our piece of it and our way of touching others in our work, in our lives, in our relationships, and, you know, and coming to understanding about it. And I'm delighted. You never know. All you can do is bring people to a path that is wholesome, and people must take the path themselves. And so that's what, and any teacher, in anyone, in any capacity, you know, it's not, you know, it's never you. It's you're created by the relationship with the beings that are being drawn towards something. You know, so it's drawn from you or through you. I mean, I know all these esoteric teachings, and yet they're just things unless there's a person that draws it forth to be benefited from it. Otherwise, it's just more useless knowledge. It's when Murshid Sam said, I feel like a mother who is, when the child comes to the breast, the milk comes, and that's definitely the way one feels. So I'm grateful for having a container like this work that draws out what one may know but not know how to use. I wanted to go into our plan for my suggestions about how to continue. And tonight I thought we would do some practice dance. One of the things I had in mind doing is some dance where we do some of Murshid's dances, particularly the one where we are each person comes individually into the center of the circle to spin Hu, and that's the third phase of the dervish cycle. But of course you can you can come out there. You don't even have to spin. You can just stand in the center and be, but what I would like for people to do when we do this dance, which, these dances started right here in this garage, and the first dances were the dervish cycle dances, and so we'll do one of these tonight, and I'll invite people to come into the center. You can bring a living presence of that is with you and share it through spinning and turning and doing the practice of who. Murshid sometimes had people be the planets when they did that, but you might be just your authentic self turning and shining your light. It could be anything in that way. But I thought I would, and I don't think we've heard from a couple of people we haven't heard from. We heard from Andali. Andali came up here. Ali Carter just came in. He's been serving us in so many ways. Yesterday we had a power outage, and Tawab also. And Subin, Mary Magdalene here. I would like to bring everybody up. So before I do anything further, does anyone have any questions as we go forward about our practice, or about how you might want to approach or not approach things? Fadhilla?
I'd like more clarity between Mujahida and Mushahida.
Yeah.
I think one is personal and the other is universal, but that's all I know.
They're both personal and universal. The Mujahida, Jahida is the jihad. Mujah means greater jihad. So jihad is the holy war, the war to overcome the Mujahida is to be a warrior in the sense of overcoming the limiting conditions of your being, such as hate and lust and greed and deceit and so forth, so that one overcomes them and one doesn't surrender to them. That is Mujahida. The practice of Mujahida may be defined differently by different schools and different teachers. I gave one of the ways that we did it, and it's in the printed material that you received. I don't have it in front of me, but basically, the Mujahida is to clear away. One of the methods that we use is to consider when we're triggered, and generally our judgment of others is triggered. We see somebody, that person's gross, or that person's evil, or that person is greedy, or whatever, or oneself. But instead of trying to fix the other person, when you get triggered by that response, you look at the place in yourself where you have that quality, and you breathe it away. You use the focus of the breath and the divine power in various ways to remove that impression from yourself. As Jesus said, how can you pick the splinter out of your friend's eye when you have a big piece of wood in your eye? But maybe you have a splinter in your eye and they have a big piece of wood, and it just irritates that splinter for you to see that quality in them that you're working so hard not to have yourself, and yet there they are having it and having their way with it, and so you feel really righteously angry about them. And this is the way we tend to operate, but to take it within and say, okay, I remember during the Vietnam War, someone pushed Murshid very hard, and they said, well, you know, how we stop the war? And he said, stop pulling the triggers in yourself. All the trigger, I mean, you're pulling triggers all the time, okay? You stop the war, stop pulling those triggers. So that's Mujahida, you know, I mean, instead, you look within to clear away that limiting condition, particularly in the area of impulses and emotions and things that are sometimes very hard to master and to overcome and not to be subject to. And so that's basically Mujahida is to do that and to do a kind of accounting and clearing. It's related to a Sufi practice called muhasabi, which is a self becoming accountable to yourself about your life, to become, you know, taking responsibility for your life. But one of the descriptions of it, one that Imam Bilal gave that I loved, which comes from the practice of the Sheikh Muhasabi, for whom this practice was named, and he used to say, well, you know, first you have to know that everything that is that you do occurs within the ocean of God's love and forgiveness. And so then you're not going to just start blaming yourself and beating yourself over the head for being a miserable sinner. But so each day he would take into account, he would look at the actions of his day and to clear away those impressions. So in this way it's like a Mujahida practice. How do you clear away the impressions of the day and the things that he thought he'd done very well and he was very proud of? When he remembered them, he gave the praise and credit and gratitude to God, and he said, Alhamdulillah. And he would say Alhamdulillah with that until he could really feel it was released, his attachment to it and so on. And then the things that he felt badly about, that he felt he'd made mistakes about, and so on, in the course of the day, he would say, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. I turn to the forgiveness of God, you know, from my mistake of being unaware of that presence, so that I acted without being conscious. And he would do that until that impression was cleared. And the things that he was uncertain about and didn't know whether they were, you know, praiseworthy or blameworthy, he would say, Subhanallah. And he would surrender to the mystery of the divine presence we don't always know, you know, but to be at peace with uncertainty and to, you know, accept that God is and to surrender to that, the Subhanallah. So that took care of all of those impressions, and then he was able to be very clear about looking at his life and what needed to be done and making his choices, not so influenced by these conditions. So that's the kind of feeling you have around Mujahida, and if you look at some of the papers that were given, you'll see some further instruction on it. But it is a clearing practice, and you find that when that fault in the other person that really triggers you, and you see where the resonance is in your being, and you work with overcoming what it is in you that is so triggered by it. You know, yeah, certainly you have to take a stand, you know, and to know when you take a stand and how to take a stand without becoming totally involved in the confusion of the situation. So, I mean, there's never one way of operating in that sense. But Murshid Samson was concerned that people would just have a false idea of goodness and love and just always be passive in situations that were asking them to say what they really wanted and what they thought was right, and to bring that into manifestation, because love is a power, he said, and it's not just being a sponge and accepting everything, particularly things that may be harmful to others. So, in that sense, what may irritate me is people who don't take action. See, and then I think, well, look at all the inertia in yourself, where you hold back on these compassion, these impulses to act, to be, So I mean, it's that kind of undertaking. Mushahida is. Takes that's kind of a beginning place for Mushahida, to clear away that, so that one can trust what comes within one in a way that one gives oneself fully to it as the presence of God, and acts with that sense of it's God who is acting here, and so that one allows the action of God to happen through the vehicle of your own being. And, in your witnessing, you are, in one sense of Mushahida, it's just all your senses are totally aware of everything simultaneously. And the witnessing is beyond that, because what you're witnessing is the divine face. I bear witness, God is one. Okay, you're bearing witness, what do you mean? You believe that? Or you witnessed it, you've seen it, from Shahid, from Mushahid, from the great witnessing, through your senses you've seen that this oneness. Or are you speaking because you think that's correct intellectually? I mean, but so in the Sufi sense, the deepest sense of witnessing, it's witnessing what one has experienced fully in one's senses. So that's why they say Sufism is based on experience, not on premises. And so with the Mushahida practice, one opens the capacity of the heart to hold an area or a domain of some kind, and shape it according to mold it, massage it, breathe with it, use the divine energy that is called forth in your being to be an agent, and not to fear the consequences, because you are confident in the beneficence of what is happening.
Would that be towards an area of conflict?
It could very well be
Even if it
toward an
wasn't
area
mind?
of conflict and in your life. It might be a place where you're living, or a place where you're working, or a family situation, or a neighborhood situation, or something in your state that disturbs you, something in your country. I mean, depending on, the world stands out on every side no wider than the heart is wide. What we really care about, that's our world, that's our domain that we're working with to hold within the altar of the heart. And if we can do that in a way in which we let God do the holding. And sometimes this happens because a presence appears, maybe a teacher who always appears for you in this situation, a being, a sound, an image, a sign from the spirit of guidance that comes, and in a merger with that, you act in this area as if you were God. How would God act in relation to this situation? How would God see this? How would God, I mean, that at the point where you're actually doing this, you're not asking that question so much as doing it. But that's where we'd like to get to with that practice.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm in a work situation. I have a difficult person that I have to potentially I need to ask the person to not participate.
Yeah.
And the trouble that I'm finding when I put my when I sit with this is that the person has enough boundary considerations and issues that inevitably it hooks those places in me, so that it's hard for me to know when I'm being clear. And if I were God, I might know how to love the person.
Yeah, well,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean,
it comes up-
dealing with a situation like that, you need to get into a different kind of state. You know, I mean, I would say, rather than thinking about, I mean, how would God handle this situation? I mean, how
I have to think about the safety of the other people around that are affected. I realize there's other considerations. It's just that because I get hooked, you know, the person could say something about people in the group or about me that seem personal, even, and I know they're not. Maybe they're just part of the person's issues.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to feel the personal attacks as personal attacks, even if they're not really meant to be.
They are meant to be. I mean, I think I know the situation you're talking about. Yeah, and you know, and so when you're dealing with a disturbed person, you have to understand it's different. You have to really set boundaries. You have to protect other people because you may be able to, you know, get into the mixing it up with them and come out of it, and in 2 minutes of meditation or whatever, you're clear and you're fine. But you have a responsibility to an atmosphere, and so that means you don a very firm demeanor, and you know exactly what your limits are that you're going to ask for in advance, and you just shine like the sun in the situation. You don't become a moon in that situation. You become a sun in that situation, and you know, and because that's your dharma in that situation to do it, and it serves that person's best interest too. Because why put them in a situation where they will do incur further suffering for themselves and others that they just are bound to generate by giving them without setting the boundaries. But it tests us. It tests us in our goodness, and that's exactly what Murshid is talking about when he says, you know, this is the one thing I see will be a problem. You know, that people will have to learn how to deal with is this issue of, you know, my sense of goodness tells me never to act that way. But sometimes one should act that way, you know, to be firm, you know, tough love in that sense. Yeah.
Question about, it just seems like, that seems like such a huge step for me, and I'd really like to learn how to do that. But what's the beginning?
Well, I'd say Allahu Akbar, a lot of repetitions of Allahu Akbar, and to know peace is power. And so that when you are asked to be a vehicle of power and in situations, you're coming from a peaceful place, and you're, you know, I mean, even if you do get stirred up, you return to that place. And you know that that's what's real, and that and you know what you're clear on what you're done. Sometimes there's some situations that you don't have to rise to, and some that it is your dharma or your responsibility to rise to, and to learn how to identify those. And then when you know it's yours to deal with, then not to be afraid, to be strong and to bring what it's needed, but to do that, you have to have some inner relationship with power, with the divine power, and the wazifas are a really good way to engage with it. Right now, in the online course I'm teaching on the class here, we're into the names of omnipotence and power in the wazifa work, and they're just so helpful for people to understand how they can be your friend. We worked with Ya Aziz a lot, you know, as self-worth and the strength of self-worth of knowing that. But then there are others that are similarly important to us to get. And Murshid Sam really transformed himself from being a very inward, sensitive person who was, afraid of that sort of thing, to being a very, very powerful person. I know when I was interviewing Lama Sering, I don't know how many people saw that interview. Has anybody seen that interview? It's up on the Ruhaniat YouTube site. It was a lovely interview, and he knew Murshid Sam when he was 15 years old, and he had made a tremendous impact on his life, and he came to the Northwest Campus. He came to my workshop in Eugene, and Ali was filming it, and we got it on film. It was really a beautiful interview. But one of the things he just said about saying, he said Sam was so Jalal. I mean, he just was so fearless. It was just such a, he says, and I've always been just kind of like this, he's really soft. And, he said he's the first person to ever touch my heart. That's the thing. It's not whether you're Jalal or Jamal, it's whether you get through, so that's what I would recommend. But I hope, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk about tuning in the mornings, wherever, like through this work, I automatically feel this connection with beings. And in the morning, but sometimes the prayers, I just feel stupid saying toward the one. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I still hear Joe screaming, you are the one. And I know I'm not the one sometimes. Very rarely am I the one. But I know it's both.
It is both, yeah.
I know it's both.
Yes, am I.
I know it's both, but I don't want to program myself to say stuff that will limit me. And in a future, wherever at any point in life, like Tord always feels like I'm in the
separation,
separation place, and just little distinctions like.
Well, what I do, because if I'm saying words over and over and they don't mean anything to me, I try and find a way to change what I'm saying, because there's no point in it. And if I'm working toward the one, and it becomes totally stale, and it's just I could be saying blah 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 blah, whatever. I need that phrase is supposed to. I think about what is this thing supposed to do? What am I supposed to get by doing this? And what I get is, I'm supposed to remember I'm not separate from the one. So then, and I'm not making this up, this has happened to me, so then, instead of when I'm out there breathing toward the one, and not knowing what I'm saying, I'm breathing, thinking with each breath, remembering the one, remembering that I'm not separate from the one. Remembering that oneness, remembering non-separated oneness, which is what you're saying. You are that, but you forget it. So if you emphasize where you forget, that you've forgotten that you're a part of it, you're saying, I need to go toward it. Then that's a spiritual path, to go, to overcome limitation and become awakened. So take it where it means something. Take the words to where it means something. The words are just where you begin, and then you go to the essence of the words. You have the fikr, using the words, and then you have the fikr you say them aloud, then you say them on the breath with the fikr, and then you just go into what it means. It means, each breath remembering I'm the one. I am in the one. There is only the one. I'm an aspect of the one. The one is, overcoming my idea of that. That's what you're doing, so you don't have to put it into concepts. Just do it. Just do it with each breath. Just be with it. Be with oneness this breath. Be with oneness this breath. You take it, instead of saying, okay, I'm not doing it right, you're taking it to a higher level, basically, because you're taking it right into the secret of the fikr. We don't want to get trapped by any concepts, no matter how good they may be or how well we might be able to defend them in a debate. Because essence is beyond all that. Yes.
You actually transformed that in this class for me a while back with the whole first half of the invocation is like the part of us that is tuning to where the dot that gives rise to us, the point of all, the one that we are all part of. That's the whole first half of it. And then the united with the whole second half being all the infinite individuations of that one happening over and over every moment. And I never heard the two parts being like the fullness of a complete circle until you helped me get sort of the the term would be arc of ascent, arc of descent.
Yeah, right.
It's just terms. It's
Yeah.
like it's the completeness of both the undifferentiated wholeness and its infinitely many manifestations. And I've never felt that in the invocation until you recently taught that. And it's been very powerful for me.
Well, you were ready to get it, and that's the thing. And this is something everybody has to get in their own way, because the human being stands here. We're defined, really. I mean, Muhammad defines the human being this way. Ibn al-Arabi does. We have a foot in both worlds. We're right here. We can see both the unlimited and the limited at the same time. We have that faculty, and it meets right here in us. So we're weaving these worlds together, and how we weave it and how we make that beautiful is the art of living, you might say, the art of being a human being. I like these questions. I'm maybe a bit talking too much.
No.
Somebody else?
You had something.
Yeah.
So, we've had the dot and the circle,
Yeah.
and you've given some breaths like along the vertical plane and some more horizontal plane.
Well, that's for the earth breath,
Right,
yes.
and
Yeah.
some are more vertical.
Yeah.
And a symbol that comes to me fairly frequently is the symbol for infinity.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't referred to that symbol, and I kind of observe it, and that's all I do with it. And I kind of feel the breath going along this symbol, and this,
It's a Mobius strip, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm making it up or.
No, you don't make. God made us all up, and we make God up. It's all part of the one mind, and it comes out in these different forms. I've had some beautiful. I had the image. The one that stuck out the most in my inner life as an image was the six-pointed star, but not where it was light that was constantly moving, where they were interlocked in a certain way, and the light was just constantly moving through it. I didn't never seen it anywhere that I know of. It just came. But you see that image of infinity in the tarot deck. It's over the head of the magician and so on in the different cards in the tarot deck. We haven't used it in here. It's simple to meditate on.
And an unrelated question. We start with 3 toward the ones, and then in the practice you mentioned, having that intention.
Yeah.
And, I often look inside and all I get is quiet, and I've tried to make up intentions, and that.
Well, you have the intention to pray. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You have the intention to be present.
Yes.
And to become present for this practice. That's the biggest thing we can do when we do spiritual practice is have the intention to show up. And not to do it while we're thinking about what we're going to do later, but just to show up for it. That's my intention, is to show up for it, to bring my attention to it.
Because I started wondering, what did you really mean when you say bring your intent?
Yeah.
Into what does that mean? So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's to me what it generally means. And it's like the biggest gift we can give to others is genuine interest in them, not just thinking about what we're going to say next, but just really caring and interest. And, you can tell when somebody is really turned toward you and is open and listening, what a tremendous gift people get from that. And I think it's time for us to make one big circle here, and we'll dedicate So just resting in this atmosphere for a bit, in the breath, feeling this vibration here, this circle, this feeling, just sending it far and wide with the currents of our breath, with all our blessing and goodwill, that beings everywhere may prosper and be well and happy and peaceful. And let's say the prayer Khatum. O Thou, who art the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, Lord of heaven and of earth, open our hearts that we may hear Thy voice, which constantly comes from within. Disclose to us Thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us Thy great goodness, teach us Thy loving forgiveness, raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide, send us the peace of Thy divine Spirit, and unite us all in Thy perfect being. Amen. Peace be with you. God bless you. Be okay.